I'm from a super tiny town called Axtell in Kansas. Small farming community, 400 people. My grandma had this old beat-up upright piano in her basement. And I have a bazillion cousins and, play in the basement and go pound on it, and everyone would run by and smash some keys. But I remember the moment that I'm like, wait, this makes sound, like this action has a result. And I was like, how does this work? That was really my earliest memory. My mom was a choir director for our church, and she played saxophone in high school, and she actually wanted to play piano, but she was one of 9 kids, farmer's family, and it was just too chaotic for everyone to do a little bit of everything. So she was determined that my kids are going to do piano. The teacher in town really didn't want to take a 5-year-old, but we had one trial lesson, and she's like, oh yeah, no, I'll take this one. And stayed with her for all through high school.
You have a master's degree in collaborative piano.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So my elevator pitch on that is I learned how to play well with others.
Okay. You have a bachelor's in performance.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in those programs?
Piano performance really focuses on solo repertoire, and you can kind of branch out into chamber music, which is like 3 to 4 players, but very like soloistic. A little bit of a lonely existence, all those hours in a practice room alone. And I really do well when I have kind of other energies to react to. So when I saw that University of Arizona had a master's in collaborative piano, I'm like, that's it. Ended up falling in with Dr. Paula Fan, who's just a phenomenal teacher and a great influence for me and really pushed me. So we worked on, we studied languages and art song repertoire instead of the solo piano repertoire. I was doing more choir work. I fell into wind ensemble and really loved the large ensemble and did some symphony work as well as a keyboard player. And I would say that's kind of where my heart really found its home, is with the larger ensembles, because it's this huge body trying to work together with the singularity of a conductor. It's just really incredible. And also, like, I had exposure to other instruments in high school. Like, small town, we didn't have much to do, so I did band and choir, anything musical that I could. So at one point I was up to 7 different instruments.
When did you first encounter the Rogue?
It was, I think, summer of 2015. It was Dorian Gray. It needed some classical piano, like Liszt and Chopin, some heavy hitting stuff. I wasn't available. I was on a tour that summer with the American Wind Symphony. Then they reached out again in 2019 for Much Ado About Nothing. It was intimidating.
What was intimidating?
It was here's a script, here's a story, here are characters, now make me an art, make me a music. I think a lot of the music I was writing up until that point was instrumental, choral, vocal music. Like, music was always the focus. And all of a sudden, here's a bunch of types of music. There were songs, dances, scene change, music that had to be under something else. I had to have a bit of an ego adjustment on myself that I'm not the center of attention on this one, per se. Joe was directing that one, and he was just very gentle and very patient. I remember the day that we found the theme for Hero, and he described the beginning of the play. It's just really painted this elaborate world, like these women are waiting for the men to come home. It's autumnal, it's joyous, it's bittersweet, it's who's coming back alive, who's not. And just started playing something for him. He's like, ooh, that's it. And it was a mood that I was able to establish. And the things I've written before that, like, have moods and stories, but it was interesting finding the key that unlocked the pairing of those two things.
What can you tell me about the process in which you compose original music for a play?
I almost always begin with the first read-through. Being that fly on the wall in the room, I kind of make my outline of where I think music goes, scene changes, underscoring. Left Hand of Darkness was pretty outside my box for how I usually do my approach. A lot of possibilities for that show, because we had aliens on other planets, and what kind of grounded that whole experience was I interviewed the man who made the object, the sculpture on stage.
You talked to John Farrell, I remember that.
And he talked me through his creative process with that. And it was, so basically I was looking for cues, for a story, for a series of events that could help inform the music. So he just talked me through his discovery process. and how it shaped up and the excitement from that once it started happening. So I made the music to match that.
Wow.
Usually I will concentrate on the cues of the show, kind of the musical moments, but since the show was so daunting, I actually flipped it and tried to write full-scale original pieces first. So I did this piece on John Farrell, and then the other one was really the relationship between Esteban and Jin Li. Kind of clash between worlds and awkwardness and trying to meet each other. So we started off like literally with a dialogue, as you would with any strangers, and then they found common ground, and there really was something beautiful with that. And then it even expanded to a grander kind of love for each other and understanding. It really helped give me a start to finish. Like, we need an introduction of characters, they need to go through something, and they need to come out the other end with some change, a change of heart, a change of ideas, perspective. And that's really the very zoomed out version of how I see kind of all compositions. Is it's an arc, and through there's similar things happening, but it helps find a definite beginning and an end, and just whatever you do in between needs to be engaging and always connecting the ideas.
What would you say is the most stressful part of the job?
The read-throughs are great, but then after the excitement of meeting the cast and crew, and it's like, okay, now get to work, like figuring out what that cue list is, like how many moments of music there are, and trying to not get overwhelmed by, oh my god, I need like 40 different cues of music. But generally, once I figure that out, I can write a show in 2 to 3 weeks. Even the bigger original ones. I think Left Hand of Darkness took about 5 weeks. That was a bit of an outlier. It really helped too that certain worlds feel really right for me when writing. So like the pastoral worlds, the fanciful like that, there's a real lightheartedness to it and buoyancy, and the flip side of that too is tragedy and like having such strong characters that give me so much information to work with.
What's the most rewarding part of the job?
I think it's when we finally get music into the room, finding those moments where the actors haven't heard the live music, pairing with kind of the vision that we've created, and having people react to it, be like, oh, that's what that does, or this changes my approach, or this is what that needed. There's kind of an aha moment, and first time that happened to the greatest effect was in Moby Dick. There was a scene towards the end when all the sailors were slowly marching to their death to be consumed by the sea. And there was kind of a theme that I've been kicking around for like 15 years that I've never really found a home for. Lush, gorgeous cascade. It wasn't too terribly active, but it was just this non-stop ripple of just beautiful chords and beautiful gestures. The first time I played that theme, Cindy was just beside herself, just weeping across the room. Those massive discoveries that elevate certain parts of the play, and it's really hard to capture that lightning.
So can you tell me a little bit about your other job?
I've always kind of worked in churches. I've been working at St. Mark Catholic Church in Oro Valley the last 7 years. I started off just as their accompanist and have moved up to a kind of assistant director. So I play most weeks. We have a really great choir there, wonderful director. So I do the playing, I do kind of the technical side. We have audio and video needs and stuff. But also I kind of run the logistical part because we have events like this week is Holy Week, and we have a bunch of outside musicians, and I make sure they have what they need and we get them paid on time. And so that's the main job. And then I keep a pretty busy freelance life. I work with the Tucson Symphony quite frequently. Been with them since 2012 as either a substitute for the principal player or as an extra keyboard when a show has multiple keyboards. Worked with ATC, and I've done musicals, and I do as much choral music as I can. I work with Tucson Magnet High School. I have a big choral program, doing some all-state accompanying coming up.
What keeps you coming back to work at the Rogue?
I have really enjoyed working with all the directors. I'm Always excited by the perspective that each director brings, the energy, the ensemble. Just, I think we've really, really nailed the formula. It feels like such a safe space, and Cindy and Joe are so warm and so open. They care so much. It's a very, it's a room of respect that I've really come to appreciate.